Hello, fellow teachers. My name is Brianna Mitchell. I am in my 6th year of teaching as a band director at Sweeny Junior High and Sweeny High School, a small 4A and 2C high school and middle school in South Texas. And today I'm going to talk you through the 8 relationships that you need to work on building in order to have a wonderful school year. Relationship number 1, your school secretary. Your school secretary is basically the person that runs the entire school, believe it or not. They're going to be the ones that are in charge of finances, any kind of check requests you need to do, any kind of fundraising you need to do. It's going to have to go through them. They are in charge of transportation requests usually, or if they aren't in charge of them, they can help you figure them out. Facility requests. If you're trying to use a room in your school, they're the ones that are going to need to help you out. They know the tips and tricks to everything on how your school is run. So if you develop a relationship with them, and not just when you're in trouble, then you'll be in a safe spot for whenever you are in trouble. It's really important that you make a lot of relationship deposits with your school secretary. Are you going to Starbucks? Ask them what they want. It's happy hour at Sonic? Bring them an ocean water or whatever their favorite drink is, and make those little deposits, and then they'll be able to come in clutch whenever you really need them. Relationship number 2, your custodial staff. They don't just clean your building. They also have lots of keys. That one day that you forgot your keys in your car or on your kitchen counter and you can't get into your classroom, they can help you out. Or if you're like me and you're a band director and you're staying up really late at the school, they can help you out. They can tell you where all the chairs are located if you need them for an event. They can come to your aid when all of a sudden a student tells you that their stomach doesn't feel so good, and then the contents of their lunch are on your carpet. They are some really nice people, and just because they hold a mop does not mean that they're any lesser than anyone else at your school. So make sure that you get to know your custodial staff, and they will take really, really good care of you and your room. The number 3 relationship to build is with your counselor. Your counselor is who sets up your class schedule and your master schedule for all classes, which means if you're an elective teacher, that might make or break your entire schedule for the year. If you're a band director like myself, for example, and you've got your top ensemble up against some kind of honors class, you might have some conflicts. So make sure you communicate those kinds of things to your counselor. Luckily, if you've got a great counselor like I do at my school, she builds the schedule around the electives. She even starts with band. I know, I got really lucky. So make sure that you talk to them about the importance of why you need classes in certain places and how you can't butt up against certain things. Your counselors can also help provide insight into maybe why some of your kids are the way they are. Every year you'll get packets and packets of information about your students for 504 students, SPED students, dyslexia students, like any kind of spectrum of things that you can think of, you'll get paperwork on it. But that doesn't always tell you the whole story. A lot of the times your counselors will develop relationships with your students too, because they provide a safe place for students to come and talk about any kind of issue imaginable. So if you notice that one of your students is struggling, make sure that your counselor knows, or just give them a heads up, and maybe she or he can pull them in and talk to them. Or maybe they've already talked to them and they can tell you what's going on, and that can help you understand how to help that student better in your classroom. The counselors also aren't just there to help out the students. If you find yourself in a place where maybe it's a little bit harder to get up in the morning and motivate yourself to go to school, and maybe you're going to bed as soon as you're getting home, talk to them. Maybe you're getting really anxious about an upcoming appraisal, or anxious about another event that's coming up in your life, and you don't have anywhere else to go to. They are counselors. They are trained in counseling, and not just for the students. So they can be a place for you and go to talk to as well. They can even point you in the direction of other resources. One school district that I worked in offered 2 free counseling sessions to teachers, and I was able to go and talk to my counselor to figure out how to sign up for those. Once I was going to those counseling sessions, then I was able to then reach out to another therapist that was able to help me with some things that I was working through. So make sure you talk to your counselors. They can help the students, but they can also help you out a lot too. The number 4 relationship to build, your coach. If you're a classroom teacher and you have some children that are being particularly enthusiastic in class one day, let the coach know. If you're an electives teacher and you're sharing kids with your coach, then make sure that they know what your schedule is and you know what their schedule is. The last thing you want is for the last big football game of the season to be at the same time as your fall concert. You don't want to have to make kids choose as much as you don't have to. They also operate under the no pass, no play rule, at least in the state of Texas. So that means that if a kid fails a class, then they can't participate in extracurricular activities. So if you know you're a reading teacher and there's certain essays that are due for your class and one of the athletes hasn't completed them, let that coach know and he will guarantee that that kid gets their assignments completed, because he's not going to be able to do his job if that kid's not doing their job. So let them know and they can definitely help you out. The number 5 relationship you should build is your admin, whether that's your principals, your vice principals, your assistant principals, whatever kind of pals you have. Make sure you get to know your admin. They have a lot on their plate dealing with the entire school. But if you invite them to your classroom to observe, they really appreciate that kind of stuff. And they're going to have to come to your classroom at some point anyway, because one of them is going to be your appraiser, which means they're going to have to watch you teach and then essentially grade you on your teaching. They've also usually been really good teachers before. So if you have questions about how to become a better teacher, let them know. And they can help you with things like classroom management, sometimes even content, or they may have some great ideas of how to get your students engaged in the classroom. They are in charge of discipline, so make sure that they understand situations that are going on in your room. Even if it involves a parent, especially let them know then. Because if you have an unfortunate email or phone call with a parent, make sure you give your admin a heads up in case that parent's going to go to them next. And then you guys can work together as a team and they can have your back and understand the full situation. The 6th relationship you need to build is with your school board. That might seem kind of odd because these are elected officials that run your school district. But they're going to be making a lot of decisions that directly or indirectly will affect your job, whether that's your salary, your staffing, whether your job even exists or not. So make sure that whenever minutes get sent out from the meetings that you take a minute to read over them. Also, if you're in any kind of organization that has kids competing, then make sure that those kids get in front of the school board. As a band director, whenever I have students make the all-region band, I make sure they get recognized by the school board. At the high school level, if you have all-state musicians or if you have kids making it to state solo and ensemble, get them in front of the school board. The more visible your program is to them, the more likely they are to invest in the future of your program. No one else is going to advocate for your program if you don't. The 7th relationship that you should work on building is with parents. The parents are not keeping the good kids at home and only sending you the bad ones. They are sending the very best that they can. Make sure that you're communicating with parents when you have good news and not just with bad news. If you've had to call home before for any kind of behavior issue or lack of preparedness for class issue sort of thing, make sure that you call them whenever that issue becomes resolved. Like if Bobby was throwing a temper tantrum in your class, then the next day he was being really calm and helpful with his classmates, let the parents know. They appreciate those good phone calls way more than they appreciate the bad phone calls. They can also give you some really good insight into if things are changing at home, which may explain some of your kids' behavior. Kids just aren't that mentally developed yet by the time we get to them as teachers. So if their parents are going through a divorce or they're getting ready to move, or maybe there's a new baby sister at the house, that might explain why they're acting out in your class, because they're trying to get attention. And the parents can let you know if those kind of changes are going on. Overall, they just want to make sure that their kids are happy, healthy, and successful. And if you can help contribute to that, even just the tiniest bit, they really appreciate that extra effort. The 8th and final relationship you need to build as a teacher is the one with your students. Your students are incredible people. You will find out some of them have the most amazing stories and may have come from the most interesting situations. So make sure that you get to know them on a personal level. Now, they don't need to know your whole history, or you don't need to be their friend, but the kids will know when you're being your most authentic self. Kids can read that stuff like a book. So if you are being you and being the best you that you can be, the kids will respond to that. Remember, the kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. Make sure that you are providing structure for your kids. As friendly as you may want to be with them, kids, especially at the elementary, junior high, and even high school age, thrive on structure. So make sure that you've got rules and procedures set up in your classroom that allow your students to be successful. Especially these days, a lot of these kids may come from broken homes and not get any of that kind of structure at home. So if your classroom can be a safe haven for them, then that's just a safe harbor for them to land in. And it's going to make them that much more willing to come to your classroom and do the work that you ask them to do. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope I have helped you think about a few relationships that maybe you need to develop in your school with different people. Make sure that you're getting to know your other teachers, find a mentor, find people outside of your school to help you out. Reach out to anybody. There's so many different support groups out there. Build relationships with other teachers so you can help build each other up. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your school year.